$20,000 Bitcoin. People, when it's $60,000, everybody would have bought it when it was 20, but now that it's 20,000, nobody wants to buy it. We're gonna talk about what's going on right here in this video. Is this the bottom for Bitcoin? $20,000. Let's find out.
Yeah.
What's going on, guys? Patrick here. It is very interesting to think that just 6 months ago, people thought that if Bitcoin ever got down to $20,000 again, that they would be buy. People thought, it was like, oh, Bitcoin's at 30, Bitcoin's at 40. If it goes to 20, I'm going to buy at least one Bitcoin. And now that Bitcoin is $20,000, everybody's like, well, I wouldn't buy Bitcoin. It's a scam. Bitcoin's a scam. 6 months ago when it was $40,000, $50,000, everybody was excited. But now that Bitcoin's 20,000, everybody is bearish and thinks that Bitcoin is going to zero. It's so funny to see just how that kind of goes. The greed, the fear and the greed, the scale is pretty real. Let's take a look at the chart here and see what's going on with Bitcoin today. So here we are pulling up the chart on Bitcoin. You can see right now at the $20,290 level. If you look down here on the bottom, you can kind of see it. We got the RSI. We're kind of in that oversold territory, just right there, peaking up a little bit recently after we bounced back up on this thing. But if you zoom in here on the daily chart, you can see a little bit of a bounce back recently from that $18,000 level back above 20,000. I saw a lot of people that were like, oh, this is the bottom. We're going to V and we're going to go back to 32,000. I'm not sure that is the case, especially with what's going on in the stock market today. The big thing right now is that there's a lot of fear when it comes to risk assets. That's stocks, that's Bitcoin, that's pretty much anything that goes up and down in value based on demand, supply, demand, and people wanting to invest. So right now, everybody seems that they want to be on the sidelines, that the market's going to go lower, and everyone's holding their cash, right? And the question is, are those people that are on the sidelines waiting for either the bottom or they're just scared to get back in the market, are they ready to buy here at $20,000? I'd say that is not the case. The thing here as well is if you look at the weekly chart, does this look like a bottom here? Does this look like a bottom there? I don't know. If you zoom in, does that look like a bottom? It looks a lot like what? It looks a lot like a bear flag, basically doing this. Creating a bear flag on that weekly candle. What would be next for a bear flag for the next move on a, on a bear flag? Normally, what do you get? You get a move to the downside when that thing would eventually break here. Now, the question is, where do we go? How low can we go? I've been talking about this for, I feel like a year now. I've been talking about this since Bitcoin went up to a high of $60,000. How low could we expect this to go? If you think about it, from, like I've talked about in other videos, that 80% drop, that puts us down around $11,000, $12,000 there on Bitcoin. And I know I keep talking about this in like every single video. Like, Patrick, we know that's your prediction. We get it. But the problem is, if we get that low, we're not that far. We're not that far from 20,000 down to 10. It seems like a big number, but we're not that far. When we're at 50 down to 10, it seems like a big number. A lot of people want to know, when should you start buying Bitcoin, right? The market is going lower and lower, but nobody knows exactly where the bottom is. What I suggest is to check out crypto.com. This is the app that I'm using. I've got it set up so I'm doing reoccurring buyings every day. Every day, I'll just buy a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of Solana right there on the app. It's really simple. It's really easy. And I just kind of forget about it. It's almost like going out and getting a coffee at Starbucks these days. But instead, I'm actually buying an asset that might grow in value here in the future. So the thing here is, will the overall sentiment be ready to buy the dip? Or if we get down here to 10 and we kind of bounce around, is there a chance that we kind of go lower and then pop back up? That's what I would kind of expect to happen. I like to see a break below $10,000 here on Bitcoin to kind of show me that we're at the point, like, okay, it's time. We're at that point where we're really oversold. If you look here on the RSI on the weekly chart, let me see if I can pull this up a little bit better for you guys. That we're getting to the point, like, we're pretty much like down into the 20, 30 point on the RSI. And if you go back here and you look at previous bounces where we were at when we had those big sell-offs, that's pretty much where we were, down this 30 area. Even back there in 2020 when we had that massive sell-off, we are down there in the 30s for the RSI. So the RSI is obviously very oversold right now. We've had this huge sell-off. I still think there's a little bit more room to go, though. I think we can go a little bit lower here on Bitcoin down to this $10,000, $11,000 level. If you go back and you zoom into 2020 here, you can see kind of how we dipped. You know, the low, I would say, was that 4,000 area, kind of like right here. This was kind of that low. But you can see how we dipped, I would say, from about 4,600 down to a low on that candle right there around the around the $3,800 level. So, you know, we dipped below 4,000 down there, that 3,800. So I'm thinking if we can break below 10 on this move down, well, then that would put us, you know, in a good spot, like $8,000, $9,000 below $10,000. We get that quick drop. It's almost like it maybe only lasts a few hours or maybe lasts like a day where it just shoot, and then we'll get a little rip back up. You know, we've kind of seen that recently as well here for Bitcoin. So that's kind of what I'm thinking would be kind of best case scenario here for pretty much everybody, right? The problem is, you know, maybe the market kind of bounces back. It really depends. Tomorrow morning, GDP on Wednesday morning, June 29th, we'll have the GDP numbers coming out. And the question is, does the market go higher with those GDP numbers, or does the overall market sell off? The SPY is kind of at that same area as Bitcoin here. And the question is, do we break out of this bear flag to the downside, looking very much like a bear flag here? I mean, this is just a textbook. If you looked up bear flag, go on Wikipedia and type in bear flag. I mean, it doesn't get any more bear flaggy than this right now on the weekly chart here, as Bitcoin's been getting stuck kind of the last two highs there at the 21,800 level. And right now, Bitcoin looking to see if we're going to break below that $20,000 area this week and start to sell. All right, so there it is. The overall synopsis here is Bitcoin's in a massive bear flag right now. I'd say the majority of times with these types of patterns, especially on a bigger time frame, that these bear flags will end up, you know, breaking to the downside. Only a couple things I would say, if maybe somehow magically the stock market just goes insane and starts to rip higher with the GDP numbers tomorrow, maybe that's like a possible like scenario here. But I would say most I wouldn't say most confidently, but more on the confident realm that Bitcoin's going to want to break back below 20,000. You know, maybe we get a touchdown to the $18,000, $17,000 level again, kind of bounce around, maybe, you know, double bottom before moving back up to the 30,000 and then continuing to sell. But I do believe longer term in the next few months that Bitcoin will touch down to that $12,000 to $10,000 level, maybe a little bit deeper for a day or so. But it might take some time. It might be a couple months. It might be a year. Who knows? But right now, we are obviously in a massive bear market for Bitcoin. A lot of people want to know, when should you start buying Bitcoin, right? The market is going lower and lower, but nobody knows exactly where the bottom is. What I suggest is to check out crypto.com. This is the app that I'm using. I've got it set up so I'm doing reoccurring buyings every day. Every day, I'll just buy a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of Solana right there on the app. It's really simple. It's really easy. I just set it up so every day, $20, buy. And I just kind of forget about it. It's almost like going out and getting a coffee at Starbucks these days, but instead I'm actually buying an asset that might grow in value here in the future.
Yeah.